Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Hope and today I'm going to teach you how to make this flower headband. So for today's video, I am going to show you how to make the most perfect headband for the spring and summertime. Starting off with the supplies, you're going to need a pair of scissors, a darning needle, and some bead threaders. I'm pretty sure I bought these ones off of Amazon, so I will have a link in my description, but I think you can also get them from Michael's, but don't hold me to that. But they do make threading the beads onto your piece a whole lot easier. You're also going to need a 5mm hook for this pattern, and some beads. Of course, this part is optional, you technically don't need to add them, but they're just cute to add. And for this pattern, you're going to need a weight for yarn. I am going to be using two different colors of the Big Twist Twinkle. And this first color is in the shade Yellow. For the second shade, it is going to be the Big Twist Twinkle in the shade Mint. So first off, you're going to go ahead and make yourself a slip knot. Then insert your hook and make a chain of 49. And while I work up on making my chains, I would love to talk to you about today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. And you just might remember me mentioning Skillshare before. They are the largest online learning community with thousands of classes that are created and designed by creatives for creatives. There's even courses for painting, sewing, hand embroidering, baking, and scrapbooking, which I might just dip my toes into. There's just so many amazing tips and tools that you can get from these classes, and there is something out there for everybody. And personally, I have been taking a class from Maggie Stara, and when I tell you she knows her stuff, she has helped me excel in my social media content creation. And do you see all of these classes? And with that being said, the first 500 people to use the link in my description will receive a month free trial of Skillshare. So get started today, and a huge thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. And now that we have finished up our chain, you're going to go ahead and place a double crochet into that third chain from the hook. And this chain 2 space right here does count as a double crochet, so we currently have 2. Next, you're going to place 9 more double crochets into the chain for a total of 11. Now you should be finished with your 11 double crochets. I'm just going to show you where we are going to be working our next few stitches. These are going to be the 2 loops we're going to be inserting our hook into. So what we're going to be doing is working a puff stitch into those 2 loops that I just showed you. So you're going to pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook into those 2 loops, yarn over again, pull up another loop, and we're going to repeat this 2 more times. So now we have 7 loops on our hook. So now you're going to go ahead and skip 2 stitches and place another puff stitch into the 3rd stitch. That's 1. Now you're going to go ahead and yarn over and pull up another loop. That's the second one. Now repeat it again. And now just pull up one more loop. And I know this is difficult because we have to keep all of these loops on our hook, but you're going to skip another 2 stitches, and into that 3rd stitch we're going to do another puff stitch. Now I'm going to go ahead and yarn over one more time and pull up one more loop. And this is where we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of the puff stitches. From here, you're going to go ahead and chain 1. And we're going to go ahead and do another puff stitch into the same space. You're going to see I have 7 loops on my hook, and what we're going to do is pull through all 7 loops and chain 1. And the 4 puff stitches that we just made up the bottom portion of our flower. Next, we're going to go ahead and skip 2 stitches and place a double crochet into that 3rd stitch. So far, this is what our work should be looking like. Next, we're going to repeat those flower stitches. So you're just going to go ahead and make your puff stitch in the top of the double crochet. Making sure that you keep all of those loops on your hook, you're going to skip 2 more stitches and place another puff stitch into that 3rd chain. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull up one more loop. Then you're going to skip 2 more stitches and place another puff stitch into that 3rd chain. And once you have all of your puff stitches finished, you're going to pull through all 3. And chain 1. Now we're going to work a puff stitch into that same space. Then pull through all the loops and chain 1. Next, you're going to skip 2 stitches and place a double crochet into that 3rd stitch. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and let you repeat those 4 puff stitches to make the bottom of your flower, and I'll meet you back at the end. So here you should have your 3 puff flowers and your 3 double crochets, and for the remaining 10 stitches, you're going to place a double crochet. So far, this is what your work should be looking like. You have your 11 double crochets, puff flower, double crochet, and another puff flower, double crochet, puff flower, and another 11 double crochets. To begin row 2, chain 2 and turn your work. And your chain 2 does count as a double crochet. And you're going to place a double crochet into the next 10 spaces for a total of 11 double crochets. Now that I've finished up the double crochets, you're going to move on to doing the top puff stitches of the flowers. To begin, you're going to chain 2, you're going to insert your hook into the top of the flower and make a puff stitch. Then pull through all of the loops and chain 1. Then you're going to chain 2 and place a double crochet directly on top of the other double crochet from the previous row. So essentially what we just did was block off our puff stitch flower. And to continue, you're just going to chain 2 and place another puff stitch on the top of the flower. Next, you're going to chain 2 and place a double crochet on top of the next double crochet from the previous row. Now go ahead and repeat the same pattern for the last flower. Once you do your chain 2, you're just going to place a double crochet into the next 11 double crochet spaces. I also wanted to show you the last stitch of the row because it was the chain 2 from the previous row. It is hard to really see. This is where you're supposed to place your last double crochet. You can also see it sits right on top of the other stitch. So now you finished up that other row that completed the flowers, and what we're going to do next is going to help shape up our work. Start off by chaining 1, and we're going to work 4 half double crochets across the top of this corner. So you're going to go ahead and work 2 half double crochets on top of each double crochet. And you can see it just makes that whole side very straight and uniform. Next, you're going to work your half double crochets across the double crochets. Now we've gotten to the point where we are going to work our stitches around the flowers. We'll be working into the chain spaces and into the double crochet space. So the pattern's going to be 2 half double crochets, and then between the petals it's going to be a single half double crochet. Into the next chain space, you're going to place 2 half double crochets. And place a half double crochet on top of the double crochet. Now go ahead and repeat that same pattern across the next 2 flowers. Once you finish up that last chain space, you're going to place more half double crochets into the next 11 double crochets. Once you reach the opposite side with the tail end, this is where I do recommend you just crochet over that tail so you don't have to sew it in later. For the opposite side, I do like to place one half double crochet back into that same stitch. Then place your 2 half double crochets on top of each of the other double crochet spaces. Once you finish up your side, you're going to start working your half double crochets across the top of the other double crochets. This is what your work should be looking like. And I'm going to keep continuing to crochet over this tail end, but for this flower row, you're going to repeat the same thing that we did before. We're going to do our half double crochets, half double crochet on top of the petal, and it'll be this chain space right here. So you're going to place 2 half double crochets into the chain 2 spaces, a half double crochet on top of the petal, and a half double crochet on top of the double crochet post. And you're going to repeat that same pattern until you are finished with the last flower. Next, you're going to place a half double crochet into all 11 double crochets. Once you make it to the end of the round, you're going to place one more half double crochet into the original space with that chain 1. Then go ahead and slip stitch to the top of your first half double crochet. Then just chain 1 and fasten off your work. Next, we're going to go ahead and start using our secondary yarn. I also like to attach my new yarn directly on top of my other strand, the one that we had just fastened off, so we can crochet over it and not have that extra tail end to have to sew in. And I'm just going to loop it through and double knot it. Now we're just going to take both of our tail ends and pull them to the side, and we're going to start working our new stitches over them so that we do not have to sew them in. Personally, I also like to hold those strands directly in the back of the stitches so that they just stay out of the way. So go ahead and insert your hook and pull up a loop and chain 1. And into that same space, we're going to do a single crochet. Next, we're going to work a stitch called a Pico stitch. So what you're going to do is do a single crochet. Then we are going to chain up 3. And once we do this chain of 3, we're going to go back into that same stitch and place another single crochet. So for this entire round, what we're going to be doing is making a little border, and it's going to consist of a single crochet in one stitch, and then in the next you're going to do a Pico stitch. So go ahead and repeat this pattern all the way around until you meet me back at the end. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a couple more just so you can see exactly how you're supposed to make them. Then you chain 3 and place another single crochet back into that same space. Now into the next stitch, you're going to place another single crochet. Just keep alternating between your single crochet and your Pico stitch, and we're going to meet back at the end. So this is what your headband should be looking like so far. It's pretty much done. All we're going to do now is close up this round and make our straps and add our beads. So into this next space, I'm going to place another Pico stitch. Then we're going to slip stitch into the single crochet space. Okay, so to save ourselves from having to do some more sewing in the end, we're going to go ahead and directly do our strap. We're going to insert our hook into this space, do a slip stitch, and then chain up 50. So go ahead and make your chain of 50, and I will show you what to do next. Now that the chain of 50 is done, you're just going to pull up a long loop, just making sure that that tail end is long enough to add beads if you plan on adding them. Cut and fasten off. And now your one strap is technically done, and we're going to go ahead and move on to doing the next one. So you're just going to take your yarn and insert your hook, just like we did on the other side. But with this one, the only thing that is different is we're going to tie on our yarn. And do make sure that you at least double tie your yarn so that it's secured. And just like on the other side, you're going to insert your hook, yarn up, and start making your chain of 50. Now making sure your tail end is long enough to add your beads, you're going to fasten off, and now we're going to move on to stringing the beads onto the straps. But if you don't plan on adding any of your beads, your headband is technically done. Before I move on, I'm going to go ahead and grab my tapestry needle, and I'm just going to sew in this end. If you planned on adding beads, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to use that bead threader to put your beads onto your piece. So go ahead and grab your threader. And grab the desired amount of beads that you plan on putting on one of your straps. I like to add 3 to each strap, and then you're going to go ahead and take your needle threader and stick the beads onto it. Once you're done adding the beads to it, you're going to take the loop end and grab the tail end of your yarn and thread it through that loop. Then you're going to push up on your beads until it threads them onto your yarn. Once they're fully threaded onto the yarn, you can take off the bead threader. And I'm just going to go ahead and tie 2 knots as close as I can to the beads so that they are secured and don't have a bunch of room to move. Now that the beads are secured onto the end, I'm going to just snip off the excess amount of yarn, and I'll end up leaving about 1 inch to 1/2 inch of a leftover little tail end. And just like that, it is finished, and you're going to do that whole process all over again for the other side. And now you have yourself the cutest little headband for the spring and summertime. And here is a little try on for y'all. And thank you so much for watching this tutorial, and definitely stay tuned for more, so don't forget to like and subscribe.